All right, so I want to welcome to Face Michael Fail. Michael, I really am looking forward to having a conversation with you. Appreciate you stepping up and coming in on such short notice. One of my Twitter followers recommended you. Trade Journal is his handle, or trade_charts, I believe his handle is. And welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I was just tuning in for the first 30 minutes, and you guys sound like a couple sharps. So it's nice to be involved with a few other intelligent traders.
So my followers said that he knows of you. He thought it'd be a great interview, and that he actually comes back to you from time to time to get straightened out with his psychology. So I read your stream, and great to talk to another coach. And yeah, it looks like to me you do trade, but you're really involved with trader psychology and eliminating bad habits and the things that are in our head that are probably natural but don't work in trading. And that's your forte. Am I correct?
I think what makes trading so difficult is it rewards a lot of the behaviors that are contrary to everything that we kind of got taught growing up, right? Like when I was getting taught, I studied law in school. And when you study law, you basically have to memorize a ton of cases. You have to do a ton of work. And that's the only way that you're going to get better. In trading, if you try to focus or try to force 100 trades a day just for the sake of trading, you're never going to have a positive outcome. So transitioning people to start thinking that, hey, I get paid for my decisions, not my time, I think is generally one of the hardest things to kind of convince people to do. And so that's sort of where I focus on. The reality is that there's a million different ways to win as a trader, but there's only really one way to consistently lose. So if you can kind of focus on learning from your negative habits and kind of compounding your positive decisions, then becoming a winning trader is just a matter of time.
Yeah, everyone really got caught up in World Cup, and a lot of people paying attention to the NFL and sports. And in sports, they say great defense wins championships. And to me, great defense in trading is great risk management, because if your opponent can't score on you, you can't lose.
Or if your opponent can't score more than like one on him.
Hey, I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt you. Dale, you're on the F.A.C.E show, not the TradeGate Hub show.
Right.
Your background says TradeGate Hub.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thanks, man.
All right. Oversight. All right. So, Michael, you want to share your screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything? Okay.
So for myself, I'm more of a trading psychology guy, and I focus on options with large caps. So what we're kind of dealing with here recently, and you guys kind of talking about a little bit here, is we're dealing with a lot of chop, right? We've been kind of stuck in consolidation here now, like 10 days, kind of at that start of that holiday period. And now even yesterday, right, we're now starting to get sort of that high volume indecision. So for me, high volume inside bars, especially when they're dojis, are kind of the worst sort of candle for me to see. And sort of tells me that, hey, we don't really have a particularly strong trending market, and we're waiting from some sort of other information. Now, maybe that's going to be tomorrow's non-farm payrolls, right? Maybe that's earnings season that starts to kick off here again pretty soon. But it certainly seems like the market is waiting for sort of that next catalyst. For me, the main issue that I'm kind of wrestling with is that it seems like the Fed has lost a little bit of credibility. So they seem to be struggling with being able to anticipate sort of the quality of data that's going to be coming out, and that's screwing up their forecast. So what I'm kind of keeping my eye on over the next, say, 2 months, 3 months, next couple quarters is basically trying to see if we can get the Fed to kind of come back to reality and reestablish sort of reasonable restraints. I think as long as the market doesn't really trust the narrative that Jerome Powell and all the sort of Fed presidents are selling us, then we're really going to struggle to kind of get a consistent narrative or consistent trending market. In general, it feels like markets love consistent stories, right? They like strong volume, they like strong earnings, they like strong macro narratives that all sort of support the same thesis. And if we're getting sort of that, I can make a story in this direction, or I can make an argument in this direction, the only sort of thing that happens is we pull in both ways and we get stuck in that sort of, little range in between. So that's sort of what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that data to sort of give us that clarity. And then hopefully once we have that information, it becomes a lot easier for us to take advantage of these moves.
Okay. So, a lot of people say that Paul has been loud and clear about what's going on. It's more the market that's hoping for a pause than Jerome Powell communicating a pause. So our market participants in hope mode right now that the Fed is done or close to done, when you have even super doves like Kashkari coming out saying terminal rate at 5.4?
I think it's a good question. Again, it goes back to the trust factor, right? If people actually trusted that what Powell was saying was correct, then we would have trending price action because there would be a narrative to follow through. So I think what they are is there's a big wait and see environment where, yeah, maybe that 5% Fed fund rate is coming. Who knows? But that's where the indecision comes in. So the indecision keeps money on the sideline. It keeps people kind of nervous and away from participating. And I think that narrative hasn't changed. So as much as, people are saying Powell is being transparent with what he's doing, well, market participants, even if he's being transparent, don't seem to be backing up his behavior, right? If they're talking about this continued, like yesterday, right, we started getting comments from Fed presidents that there's not going to be a Fed hike, or sorry, a Fed cut in 2023, right? And so if that's sort of the case, right, you would think that's not exactly a positive narrative for stocks, but we got an inside bar, no trend breakout yesterday from that sort of Fed minutes discussion. So we continue to sort of get stuck and one fund can, think this is the thesis. The other one can think the other thing, the opposite. And there's no real clarity in the data that gives us that sort of soft landing hope.
What do you put more weight on, the false breakout over the trend line that the whole universe was watching from all-time highs at 4150, or the recent lows that are basing at this 374 range or so? For me right now, and since that false breakout that we had, I put more weight on that as being significant than anything else yet.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel as well. Generally for me, right, if I'm in a bearish market, I want to see basically bulls fail to reclaim control in any sort of convincing way. So a failed breakout, a failed attempt to sort of reestablish momentum means that they kind of need to retreat and kind of, rebuild their strength lower down. So I even almost see like the recent basing that we've seen, right, from say the 19th of December to sort of present as like a little bit of a bear flag, or maybe even like a wedge with sort of a higher probability of a downside break than a sort of breakout.
Okay. So now let's get back to what you also spend a lot of time on. You've been doing it for a while. How long have you been mentoring people now?
So I've been running DTR for about 2 years.
Okay.
And I've been trading for about 10 years.
Okay. What were you doing before you started trading?
I was a student. So my first job out of school was trade execution for a hedge fund in Guernsey in the UK.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about a few of the biggest mistakes that traders make. You want to break out your laundry list, and, break out your laundry list of what time bombs people are stepping on all the time. I've used a metaphor that you can't read a book about brain surgery and then walk into the operating over the weekend and then walk into an operating room Monday. But people think they can read a book about trading and begin to trade following reading that book. They have all the answers. So what are the mistakes that people make at first? Is it over leveraging?
Honestly, I think it's that people don't treat it seriously, right? Like trading for so much fun. The feeling of being able to have money and seeing your P&L change, it triggers a different like emotional reaction from everyone else. And a lot of the times, because something is fun, you don't take it as seriously. You kind of treat it like a bit like a game. And then when you don't give the market the respect it deserves, that leads to sort of the other issues, the over leveraging, like you're talking about, the ignoring your stop loss. So it's more that, okay, trading's a lot of fun. I've got a ton of fun. It's way better than what I do for my day job. So I don't need to take it seriously. But that's sort of not the reality, right? Like every day the market's a new test for us. And so the better prepared we can be, the easier it is for us to do well in the market, right? That starts with planning your trades. That starts with thinking about your position sizing. That starts with, respecting your risk management. And if you choose to ignore all those parameters because you think it's fun and you can just wing it, that's where you kind of end up getting consistent, negative results.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ocean. By the shore, you could just be enjoying yourself. But if you're not paying attention, the power of the ocean can overwhelm you and overtake you. So
Exactly.
kind of like that in trading. Respect the market, the power of the market. I was reading your stream, and I was wondering what you were doing with talking to people about, you have meetings on Saturday. And I found that interesting because most of my trades that happen during the week are planned on the weekend. Because then you're ready to execute instead of analyzing on the fly. Is that something that you promote in your teachings, is to have your trading plan for the following week ready over the weekend when markets aren't running and you could be more objective?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't quite plan it out on Saturday because I'm a day trader. So I do pretty short-term stuff, but all my plans I do from say 9 o'clock to 9:30. That's sort of when I spend my entire day or entire time planning out my trading day. So I'm making a bullish thesis, I'm making a bearish thesis, and I'm defining what confirmation looks like for those ideas. So the more I can do that, right, the more I can write down those data points, then after market hours, it's easy for me to evaluate and see, hey, what did I do wrong here? Right on that Saturday when I've got nothing else to do besides drink coffee and watch kind of, tickers that aren't moving. That's the perfect opportunity for me to learn from my mistakes or learn from the things that I did well during the week. So it's about just being able to write down and track as many data points that you can then use as sort of like a foundation to actually, build your knowledge off of. And when you're inconsistent in your application of your strategy or your execution, then it becomes impossible for you to notice your patterns, right? Impossible for you to notice what you're doing well, what you're doing wrong, because it's random. So that ends up stagnating your progress as well. And so that's why it's so important to write everything down.
Okay. And what are you prepping people for on red days like we're going to have tomorrow? Do you say that do most of your people day trade stocks? I notice that most of what you have up on your list are equities. There's a few commodities up there. On a red day like an NFP or a Fed day, do you advise people to stand aside because it's more like roulette, trying to guess which way the market will react to a big number?
Yeah, so definitely identifying the conditions that suit your strategy are super important. And historically, days where like you said, those red days, the FOMC days, the Fed minute days, those tend to be conditions that aren't very suitable for trend or momentum traders. So yeah, those end up being days where you just mostly spend time on hands, right? You're evaluating price action. You're trying to find your clues for tomorrow. But like I mentioned, right, good traders get paid for their decisions, not their time. So I average like 1.6 trades a day. At least that's what I averaged in 2022. And so it's more about just wait for my perfect shot, wait for things to kind of sync up, wait for every element of my trading plan to be sort of established. And then once I have that information, once I have that confirmation, I have to have the confidence to execute my strategy and then learn from those mistakes or learn from those wins.
And what motivated you to gravitate towards being a day trader rather than swing or position?
Yeah, it's honestly just how I was taught. So the fund I worked at, we had a holding period of 3 days. So I just was trading short term for a really, really long time and had a lot of confidence and familiarity with that sort of structure. I think now these days, especially if you use leverage products and you have a respect for risk management, that people get like overwhelmed trying to chase these huge moves and they ignore the power of compounding 1 or 2% a day. And so, if you have those leverage products and you are really able to be patient, then you can stack up those base hits without needing the sort of overnight stress of watching, kind of thin price action.
Okay. Charles is asking, what did you learn from working at that hedge fund?
The first thing was probably that money isn't real. Like the P&L swings that you would see on a day-to-day basis made you so numb, right? And so it forced me to start thinking, well, the outcome's going to take care of itself if we do X, Y, Z. So I need to be super focused on my process. If my process is perfect, if I'm controlling the variables that I can control, then the outcome will take care of itself. But if I become so obsessed about the dollar figure, then that number is going to overwhelm me before I kind of break through my learning curve.
Okay. So it got you to really focus on the here and now. You do the right thing today and tomorrow takes care of itself type of mentality, right?
Exactly. And if you control the things you control, right? The market's going to do what the market's going to do. I can't change how I'm going to feel about a position once I'm actually in it, right? So the only thing I can do is make proactive decisions that protect me from my worst version of myself, and then to rely on my hopefully positive trading habits to let me take advantage of whatever volatility is out there.
Are you all in and all out on entries and exits, or do you piece in and piece out?
I generally try not to scale in and out, especially when you have options. When the time decay starts to work against you, there becomes a bit of a slippery slope where you're averaging down can become a very, very painful process. So if I'm confident in my entry, I should be green, almost right away, or I should spend, very, very minimal time in the red. And so I'm either green right away or I'm cutting my loser.
Okay. All right. Well, here's a guy who is willing to share knowledge of trading acumen. What's the best way, Michael, for people that heard you today or see the recording later, if it's still published because I had the wrong background on, what's the best place for people to do it? On Twitter at DTR_trading? Is that the best
so if
place?
you want to find me on Twitter, I'm DTR_trading. If you want to check out my website, I'm daytradinglivestream.com.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet someone who is trying to help people and pay it forward, because it is a very challenging endeavor.
And it's lonely too.
I'm lonely. I'm Mr. Lonely. Anyway, but it really seems like when you're teaching people, you also need a lot of patience. How long would you say it took you to make breakthroughs, and how long does it take people that are your mentees to really make breakthroughs and begin to make money in the market?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm making breakthroughs constantly. So my trading evolution is a constant process. I'm constantly learning, constantly finding new things I need to improve. So I think that's what my favorite part about the markets is that I'm forced to do that. When I first started trading out, it took me about 6 months to really find my legs, and then kind of get rolling. And then I would say 2 years in, I started to feel a bit more confident about what I was doing. With my members, the way I try to structure things is 90 days. So the training program I went through at the fund I worked at was a 90-day program. Then I had to pass sort of an evaluation test. So I try to structure things the same way, give people the technical skills, teach them kind of the structures they need to learn from their trades. And then hopefully within that sort of 90-day period, they're able to kind of hit the ground running and really kind of start compounding their good decisions.
Okay, you're way ahead of the curve. I've interviewed well over 1,000 traders. Most give me an answer about 4 years, like an undergrad degree at a university or being a apprentice in a trade.
Well, it's not to say that you're a perfect trader, right? After that,
well, you're
90
never
days,
that. You're never that. Are you?
But it's just that there's a certain habit, like the amount of time it takes to reset some of your bad habits, the amount of time it takes you to fix some of your most obvious mistakes. You can change those in 90 days and go from losing significant amounts of money to understanding how risk management works and surviving your learning curve, right? That's the objective here. You're not going to become a millionaire in a month or a millionaire in a year from trading. You're going to lose all your money if that's what your objective is. But if you want to stop your bleeding and you actually want to put yourself in a situation where you've transitioned away from trying to force money in the market to actually trying to learn from the market, then that's the kind of the time it takes to sort of reset those habits. And then to actually get the confidence and to, really, compound your decisions from there. For sure, it can take a little bit of time, but that journey is different for everyone.
Yeah, and it's Tom Petty says, the waiting is the hardest part.
That's very
right,
true.
Buddy?
Waiting for your perfect entry, waiting for your setup. It forces you to rush decisions sometimes, and mistakes love a rush decision.
Really a pleasure to meet you, Michael. And I'm behind your mission. I root for you to help as many people as possible avoid the one mistake business that we're in.
Yeah, 100%. And that's it, right? Your strategy could be better than mine, but if my risk management's better than yours, I'll make more money than you.
Okay. That's a great tagline. Appreciate it. And people are coming in with some nice comments about the interview. So really appreciate you being here. Glad I met you. You're now my trading warrior brother, like it or not.
I appreciate that. Hopefully that means I'll have an invite back at some point.
That's exactly what it means. See, you're on top of everything.
All right. Appreciate your time, Dale.
Okay, Michael, and you can follow him on Twitter at DTR_trading. And we underscore trading because Michael will teach you how to do it.
Yeah. Good luck and happy hunting out there, guys.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Michael. All right, everyone. That's a wrap for today. You could join the team in 23 minutes on the Morning Edge. Good hunting, and we'll see everyone for the NFP tomorrow, which means no frickin' problem. And don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and always take partials. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.